The Whispering Walls. It was a cold, moonless night when Emma moved into the old Victorian house on the edge of Blackwood Forest. The house had been abandoned for decades, its once grand facade now crumbling and overgrown with ivy. But Emma, a struggling artist, saw potential in its eerie charm. She had inherited the property from a distant relative she barely knew, and with no other options, she decided to make it her home. The first night was uneventful. The house creaked and groaned, as old houses do, but Emma dismissed the sounds as the settling of aged wood. She spent the evening unpacking her belongings and setting up her art studio in the spacious attic. The room had large arched windows that overlooked the forest, and she imagined it would be the perfect place to find inspiration. But as the days passed, strange things began to happen. It started with the whispers. At first, Emma thought it was the wind rustling through the trees outside. But the whispers grew louder, more distinct, as if someone or something was speaking just out of earshot. She would turn around expecting to see someone there, but the room was always empty. Then came the shadows. Emma would catch glimpses of movement in the corners of her vision, dark shapes darting across the walls. She told herself it was just her imagination, but the shadows seemed to grow bolder, lingering longer each time. One night, as she worked late in the attic, Emma heard a faint tapping sound. It was rhythmic, almost like a code. She followed the noise to one of the walls, where the tapping seemed to originate. As she pressed her ear against the cold plaster, the whispers returned, louder than ever. They were no longer indistinct murmurs, but clear, desperate pleas. "Help us! Let us out!" Emma stumbled back, her heart pounding. She grabbed a flashlight and began to inspect the wall. The plaster was cracked and peeling, and as she ran her fingers over it, she felt something beneath the surface, something hard and uneven. With trembling hands, she grabbed a hammer and chisel from her toolbox and began to chip away at the wall. The plaster fell away in chunks, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside, she found a stack of old photographs and a journal. The photos were of people, men, women, and children, all with hollow eyes and gaunt faces. The journal was filled with entries written in a shaky hand, detailing the horrors that had taken place in the house. The writer, a man named Thomas, had been the caretaker of the house in the early 1900s. He wrote of a family who had lived there, the Blackwoods, who were rumored to practice dark rituals. Thomas had discovered their secret, a hidden room in the attic where they performed unspeakable acts. He had tried to stop them, but they had trapped him in the walls, sealing him alive. As Emma read the final entry, the whispers grew deafening. The shadows on the walls began to move, swirling and coalescing into humanoid shapes. She dropped the journal and backed away, but the shadows closed in around her. The temperature in the room plummeted, and her breath came out in visible puffs. "Help us!" The voices pleaded, now coming from all around her. Emma turned to run, but the door to the attic slammed shut. The shadows closed in, their cold, bony fingers reaching out to her. She screamed, but no sound came out. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the face of Thomas, his hollow eyes filled with sorrow and rage. The next morning, the house was silent. The attic door was open, and the hidden compartment in the wall was empty. Emma was never seen again. But if you visit the old Victorian house on the edge of Blackwood Forest, you might hear the whispers. And if you listen closely, you might just hear Emma's voice among them, begging for someone to let her out.